Today, I'm going to walk you through how to make a clean and simple leather money envelope using one of the first patterns that I ever designed. This is a great project for beginners. It doesn't require a lot of tools or materials, and the end result is something that you can actually use or even gift. I'll show you everything from cutting and assembly to optional finishing techniques that'll help you take your leather work to the next level. So if you're new to leathercraft or just want a relaxing, quick project, this one's for you. Let's start with what you'll need. Most of these are standard tools for leathercraft, and a few are optional. So let's first go over the essential tools and materials. A utility knife, rotary cutter, or precision blade will work. You'll need leather, 4 to 5 ounces thick. That's roughly 1.6 to 2 millimeters thick. You can use either veg tan or chrome tan leather. Either works. In this video, I'm going to be using chrome tan leather that's about 4 to 5 ounces thick. Next, you'll need one snap along with a snap setter. Then you'll need a hole punch for the snap. Just make sure that it matches the size of the hardware that you're using. Next, you'll need stitching chisels. 4 millimeter spacing is a solid go-to for clean stitching lines. Then you'll need a wing divider to mark consistent stitch lines, or a ruler and scratch awl if you don't have one. Then you'll need leather glue, contact cement, or any good leather adhesive. You'll need some wax thread, about 0.4 millimeters in thickness, 2 stitching needles for saddle stitching, or you could just use one stitching needle depending on what stitch you want to use, and a lighter to melt your thread ends after stitching. And here are some optional tools. You'll need an edge beveler. A size 2 is great for this project. You'll need burnishing solution like toconol or gum trag, a piece of canvas or denim for slicking your edges, leather dye if you want to change the color, and leather finish like Resolene tan coat or leather balm. You'll need some scotch tape to hold the pattern down while cutting, and then also optional is edge paint if you want those clean, color blocked edges. Moving on to the first step, you want to start by cutting out your printed pattern. Make sure that you're only cutting the outer lines. Don't touch any of the interior markings. The shape that you should end up with is sort of a stylized pentagon shape, and you'll want to use wall-safe tape or regular scotch tape to secure the pattern flat against your leather. You'll want it tight and stable so that it doesn't shift around while you're cutting. Tape around the edges and around any loose corners. Then, use your cutting tool to carefully trace and cut out the shape. Make sure to take your time here. Smooth, accurate cuts go a long way in making the final product nice and polished. Go ahead and mark your punch holes for your snap. Once you've got your shape cut out, punch out the 2 small holes marked on the pattern, one on the top flap and one on the lower front panel. These are going to be holes for your snap. Now, depending on the type of snap that you're using and the thickness of your leather, you might need to tweak the size of these holes slightly. You also might want to shift the position just a touch if you're using thicker leather. That ensures that the flap still lines up cleanly when it's folded. And once you have your holes punched, if you plan on dyeing your leather, this is the time to do it. In this video, I'm using a chrome tanned leather that's already finished, so I won't be dyeing my own piece. But if you do end up dyeing your piece, you want to make sure to apply the dye evenly across the surface and let it dry fully, usually about an hour or even overnight if you use a lot of dye. If you're working with unfinished or natural veg tan leather, you'll also want to apply a finish to protect the surface. You can use something like tan coat, Resolene, or leather balm. Again, make sure that everything's dry before moving forward. And once your piece is dry, this next part is also optional, and that is going to be your edge work, or beveling your edges. It does make a huge difference if you're using veg tanned leather. Use your edge beveler to round off the sharp corners along all the sides. I recommend at least beveling right now, and then you're going to burnish at the very end. Let's go ahead and install your snap. Place the male and female pieces through your punched holes, and use your snap setter or press to secure them in place. Make sure they line up properly so that the flap closes cleanly. This gives your envelope that satisfying click when you shut it. Next, go ahead and flip your leather over so that the rough flesh side is facing up. Apply glue to the left and right edges of the bottom of the pentagon shape, and this is going to be folded up to where the dotted lines are marked on the pattern. Then fold the bottom section up toward the snap flap. Be careful not to fold it too high so use the snap placement as your guide and press the glued areas together and hold it until it sticks on its own. Just give it a few minutes to set before stitching. Once the glue is set, it's time to stitch. Use your wing divider or a ruler to mark your stitch line. It should be about 3.5 millimeters from the edge. Then use your stitching chisel to punch your stitch holes through both layers. Thread up 2 needles and saddle stitch down each side for extra security. I like to do a back stitch at the beginning and at the end of each seam. When you're done, snip the excess thread and melt the ends with a lighter to keep them from fraying. And just like that, your leather money envelope is complete. It's simple, functional, and looks great, especially knowing that you made it yourself. If you want to try this project out for yourself, you can grab the free pattern on my website, puredleather.com. I'll also leave a link in the description. And if you do end up making one, tag me on Instagram or TikTok so I can check it out. I love seeing your guys' projects. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.